Like every crime procedural TV show from the early 2000s, there's a lot to love about Bones, as well as a lot to be critical of when revisiting the show today. It's been 20 years since this now iconic series premiered on Fox, and it's lost none of its ability to capture the audience's attention in the years since it went off the air in 2017. Following the criminal investigations of Agent Celie Booth, David Boreanaz, and Dr. Temperance Brennan, Emily Deschanel, Bones was a traditional procedural in many ways, following a formula and incorporating a will-they-won't-they romance. However, though there are many crime TV shows similar to Bones, even with its flaws, there's no replacing or outdoing this landmark TV show. 10. The series loses steam after Brennan and Booth get together. Their will-they-won't-they dynamic was one of the best parts of the show. The romantic plotlines on Bones usually take a backseat to the murder investigations, but the relationship between Booth and Brennan is easily the most significant part of the entire series. Though the pair deny their feelings for each other for a long time, holding out until the end of season 6, Bones couldn't keep them apart forever. However, once the tension of their will-they-won't-they dynamic evaporated, Bones had to work overtime to find drama and high-stakes events to keep the series exciting. Romance isn't everything in a crime procedural like Bones, but the chemistry between Booth and Brennan was a big part of what kept audiences interested in the series. While Bones didn't start to flag until the last few seasons, the writing was on the wall when the show jumped right into the characters having a committed relationship together. The audience misses out on many of the early moments of the couple's trajectory, which was a wasted opportunity for the series. 9. Some of Booth's views are regressive. Booth represents a more dated mindset on Bones. Boreanaz Booth makes up one half of the dynamic duo in Bones, and he represents the more emotional, hot-blooded side of the pair, who goes with his gut, asking questions later. This complements Brennan's more cold, logical approach to the world, creating an immediate source of tension that's elevated by the actors' chemistry. However, Booth isn't immune to being regressive and old-fashioned when it comes to the way he treats certain people, as his traditional values frequently chafe against Brennan's independent lifestyle. Though he means well and his actions often come from a place of love, Booth is quick to anger when someone disagrees with him when it comes to religion or family. Some of David Boreanaz's favorite episodes of Bones saw the character be pushed out of his comfort zone and relate to people he might not immediately understand. As Bones progresses, Booth and Brennan both soften each other's more intense worldviews, with Booth coming to see how Brennan's objective view of things can end up being more empathetic than he thought. 8. Brennan is overtly rude to her interns. Brennan sometimes crosses the line with new interns. It makes sense that Brennan would have a high standard for her interns, as she sets her own personal bar just as high, if not higher. However, it can be difficult to watch what she puts some of the grad students and interns through over the seasons, as many of them crumble under the pressure, breaking themselves down in order to impress her. Of course, part of this stemmed from the fact that Brennan never truly recovered from the loss of Zach Addy, her intern and later colleague, who left the show. Zach got caught up in one of Bones' most notorious overarching plot lines with a cannibal who manipulates him into working alongside him, breaking Brennan's heart. After Zach left, Bones never fully replaced him, instead opting for a revolving door of interns who come and go, some becoming recurring and others disappearing forever. Though Brennan becomes more understanding of mistakes in the later seasons, she can be a little harsh with her subordinates, which isn't always easy to watch. 7. The team often makes light of what happened to the victims. These jokes can get a little out of hand throughout Bones. Dealing with death and tragedy every day would be hard on anyone, and the fact that Booth, Brennan, and their team are responsible for solving only the most gruesome crimes makes this even more difficult. All the characters must make light of some of the circumstances in the series, but the juxtaposition between the violence and comedy can sometimes feel a little overwhelming. There are certain characters, like Angela and Booth, who push the other, more objective personalities to remember that the bodies they deal with were real people with families. However, when the characters get caught up in the science and piecing together the mystery of the murder, the shock factor can overwhelm the importance of justice for the victim. Most of the time, Bones walks this tonal line well, but there are occasions when the series takes things too far, never diving into the victim and what made them unique. Some of the best episodes see the characters get deeply emotionally invested in the victims, and identify with them and their experience. 6. Bones relies on tropes and gimmicks a lot. The many special episodes that can be hit or miss for viewers. Since Bones relies so heavily on the chemistry between Booth and Brennan, it made sense that the series would put them undercover so many times throughout the show. It's fun to watch both characters step out of their comfort zones and explore interesting new settings, but this is a marked divergence from the traditional narrative of a Bones episode. Bones is a light-hearted crime drama that doesn't take itself too seriously, but some of the more gimmick-heavy episodes lose the thread of the mystery and intrigue. The emotional thrust of the series is as important as the comedy and offbeat adventures, even if it is fun to see Booth and Brennan join everything from the circus to a ballroom dancing competition. Though all crime procedural TV shows rely on tropes to give the viewer easy access to the thrust of the story, no matter when they start watching the show, Bones rarely subverts these formulas. Once audiences catch on to the beats of a typical episode of Bones, it's easy to guess who the killer might be, though this can be part of the fun of watching. 5. The science is typically unrealistic. Bones doesn't always adhere to concrete facts. Most audiences would be hard-pressed to find a procedural TV show that always uses correct science and never stretches the boundaries of what investigators can do on screen. One of Bones' predecessors, CSI, was notorious for bending the truth and making up new sciences and technologies to suit the story. However, Bones takes an even more intellectual and science-based approach to murder investigations, with much of the narrative typically relying on what Brennan finds on the bones. Additionally, Bones isn't afraid to explore what Hodgins, Cam, Angela, and the others can learn from the particulates, tissue, and clothing. While it's fun to watch them put the pieces together, it's not always realistic.